Gotcha games typically aren't my cup of tea nowadays. I used to dive and spend a bunch of money on them back in the day, but I've learned my lesson after spending about a grand back in like 2017, 2018 with Grand Blue, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and Final Fantasy Record Keeper. That being said, Octopath got a gotcha game. Didn't really catch my interest, still hasn't caught my interest, but they did adapt it into a full-on console game called Octopath Traveler Zero, and I really liked it. So I just kind of want to talk about it for a bit and talk about some pros, some cons, and why, if it interests you, maybe give it a shot. So the game opens up with you making your character, who I'll henceforth refer to as John Octopath. Unfortunately, John over here is the silent protagonist, which I'll get to why that's a con in a second. But we start off in the town of Wishvale, where your peaceful town is raised by three douchebags, and after that, you're like, hey man, I'm going to travel the world and get revenge on my ops. So that's the short of the story, because I don't want to get into how the story concludes and things like that. This is just the first, basically, the first three arcs is the big tutorial, I'd argue. And that's where I want to leave you off with, because if you're going to play the game, you might as well experience it all for yourself. But this game, because I think it's an adaptation of a gacha game, the pacing can be genuinely nightmarish at points. This game has 8 main story arcs and then one side story, which involves building the town of Wishvale. And the game can drag. This game takes about 100 hours, give or take, to do everything you want to do in the game, which to some people is like a boon. But I think a good chunk of it is just how badly paced some of the cutscenes are. Like, they're not great at all. It's like, go to a castle, watch this cutscene about them speak about almost like a recap of the events, and then, oh, let's go do this, let's go do that, when it really should just be like, we already know what's happening. We know that we need to beat up the big bad. So it's very strange. And I think it is, some of it is just lingering elements of the gacha game. I haven't played it, but I will say another issue with this game that I think it has from the elements of the gacha game. A lot of the dungeons are very uninspired. It's just a long hallway, give or take, with some moving pieces, a little bit of treasure chest. There is one dungeon in this game that has a really fun gimmick, and it's like a sliding gimmick. It's a sand, it's like a desert castle with gold, and you're basically falling down the pits looking for these machinations to turn on a switch to open the door. It's very basic, but it is fun, and it's probably the only dungeon that has that. The rest of them are glorified hallways, unfortunately. That being said, town exploration is really fun. Role actions also make a feature here, as within every Octopath game. This one's based off of 3 stats, which is the wealth stat, the fame stat, and the power stat. They can affect certain path actions. So, for example, wealth, you can haggle. So some NPCs, you can haggle or buy things off of them. With wealth, you have a higher chance of haggling off of them. Fame, you have things like entreating, which is getting items for free. Each NPC has not necessarily unique actions tied to them. Most of them have the same actions, but their actions that you get from them are different. Like, some people will have grapes, some people have weapons, and things like that. I found power kind of the least useful stat. I never really saw any use for it in my gameplay, but the other two are very important, and obviously it's Octopath, so save scumming. If you want to get very strong things early on, you can do that. Where the game really shines for me, as opposed to other Octopath games, is definitely the town building. This is the first Octopath game that has town building outside of the mobile game, but I didn't play it, so I can't really talk about how it is in that game. It is very strong. It is probably your main jump in strength in the mid game until the end game. There's some of the best equipment hidden in here. The battle tested equipment is usually the best equipment you can get in Octopath, and you get it from the shop. And you get the shield, the battle tested shield, in the Octopath shop through backdoor trading. You recruit NPCs. You can hire them, and they will join your town. Most of them offer buffs, such as giving you more resources to make more buildings in your town. And then other ones will give you like buffs to certain areas, like the training ground, more XP, more JP, things as that. But near the end game, you'll have your town pretty well optimized. It might not look pretty. It does take a lot of effort. My town, for example, I think I put in around 4 hours. And even then, when I compare it to like people's I see online, I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. That being said, town building is definitely one of the high ends for this game. The final thing I want to talk about before we wrap this little thoughts of Octopath up is the gameplay. The row system, instead of having 4 players at any given, or 4 party members, you'll have 8 at any given time in battle. And the back row never takes actions, but they will always heal MP and HP at the end of a turn. It's a pretty decent chunk. You can swap rows at any given time, given it's that same character's turn. So for example, this top row, I can just press R2 and I can just swap over, because both of them have different actions. And because you have so many characters, the boost and break system, how it works is they have weaknesses. You expose those weaknesses, you break the shield, just like in other Octopath games, right? There's a lot of shields in this game just because the game knows you have 4 party members, but you're given so many skills that are multi-hit. Here, Stia hasn't hit. That she hits 4 times with an axe, right? So it's just like 4 axe hits right out of the gate. And so you have the prerequisite skills to just start going ham, and that's how you really want to be spamming them. They may cost a bit of SP, but with the amount of variety in builds you have, you'll usually break their shields within, I'd argue, 3-ish turns. So, and man, some of the characters later on in the game you get are just genuinely unhinged. They are very, the characters feel unbalanced. Every character has a base kit, and you can only modify in this game 3 extra skills on them and 2 extra passives outside their base kit passives. So certain characters, when you get them, they're going to be like, oh, this character is basically unusable for your party comp currently. That being said, equipping 8 characters, especially the first time you get them, it's a pain. It's a lot of optimizing and things like that. And one of the bosses in the game, not gonna spoil who, will require you to equip around 30 plus members because it requires every single party member in the fight. And it is a choice to just sit there right before that battle, trying to optimize every character, including the characters you've never touched. Just being like, okay, what do I give them? What skills do I want to give them? It took me about 20 extra minutes, and it was definitely a choice. It looks really cool, but it's definitely a choice. That being said, this game is long. This game's like 100 hours long, and as much as I say, oh, you should definitely play Octopath Zero, I don't think it's a great starting entry because it doesn't really set the standard for the Octopath series, and I don't think they're going to use 8 party members unless they continue the Octopath Zero mobile game adaptations. Then they'll continue that if they make more console versions. But I think as terms of Octopath 3, we're sticking with 4 party members. But if you liked Octopath 2, I would say give the demo of Octopath Zero a shot. And if that doesn't scratch your itch, that's okay. I just wanted to talk about this game because, well, realistically, I think with this video thing I'm doing, it's really just for me to get my thoughts out there about games I play. I have a backloggery account, and I do like it. But that being said, it's kind of hard for me to talk about a lot of video games now just because I don't have a lot of people to talk to video games, especially JRPGs. And I yap to a lot of my friends. Like, I yap a little bit too much. So I think it would help if I just got my thoughts out there on the internet and just, I guess, a video blog of what games I play. This is all off script, by the way. I had a script originally, but it was really hard for me to follow it. Not that I can't read. I mean, I'm still messing around with this video thing. Like, some of the tonation I have in this video is probably jarring. The audio is probably a bit jarring. Some of my breathing is probably a bit jarring. I try to cut as much as I can, especially with the dead air, so that's why a lot of cuts are possibly jarring. My video editing skills are very, very, very basic, so that's why the clips may be a little kind of whatever, but I don't know. I'd like to do more of this, but you know, I get something out there, I start somewhere, and hopefully my skills will improve as I do this more often. I don't have any goals for myself. Hopefully I'll be a nurse within the next 2 years, so yeah. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, bye!